Remember the social media debate from a few years ago about whether a hot dog in a bun is actually a sandwich? Well, to coin a phrase, the question served up plenty of comments. It served up strange interlocutors who offered in-depth histories of the sandwich and the hot dog, and the debate distracted many people from other matters. Of course, only each person can judge for himself or herself whether the distraction from other matters was worth it. But it turns out that for 5 years in Indiana, a similar debate has been cooking. It's about whether a taco is a sandwich, and this debate also serves to distract from the much more fundamental problem of government claiming to control people's lives and livelihoods. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC TV, and here's the story. USA Today's Ajani Forbes offers the first blush information on this debate, noting that it actually saw tax-funded government courts getting involved. Quote, an Indiana judge ended a years-long debate between a restaurateur and the county commission that ultimately ruled tacos and burritos are Mexican-style sandwiches. Starting in 2019, Martin Quintana, the owner of Famous Taco, a Mexican-style restaurant that serves made-to-order burritos, tacos, and other food items located about 125 miles north of Indianapolis, sought zoning approvals from the Fort Wayne Plan Commission. There's the problem: zoning. Do you think you own your own property? And do you want to use it in a peaceful manner? Should you use it and then harm someone through that use? Are you open to a person bringing a claim against you, just as you should be able to do so if someone else harms you or your property? Well, not so, thanks to the political claim of zoning power. Yes, zoning power, where you don't really own your property because politicians will demand that before you try to use it in a peaceful way, you have to come groveling to them to get permission. In other words, they claim the power over you and your property. Writes economist Ash Navabi for the Mises Institute, quote, zoning is the practice of governments controlling the type, size, and population density of buildings. The purpose of zoning has been to create separate regional zones of building types. Broadly, these categories typically include residential, industrial, retail, and parks. And people shouldn't get used to this kind of thing. For example, do you own a house and want to open a small retail space in one room? Well, you better watch out. You have to go to the zoning dons and kiss a few bureaucratic rings. And even then, you likely won't get permission to do what you want to do on your property. This Indiana matter isn't so much about the superficial distraction of whether a taco is a sandwich. That debate just indicates the level of absurdity to which government impositions push everybody as they try to fight over terms, as they try to find escape clauses and loopholes and exceptions in an increasingly government-regulated America. Here's how the past 5 years have gone for Mr. Quintana. Quote, Quintana's request was to upgrade the space from a single-family designation to a limited commercial occupancy for his business, according to the court documents published by local news outlet WISH. In order to be approved, he would have to agree to a written commitment that highlighted specific restrictions for his business. To be compliant, Quintana's restaurant had to be a sandwich bar style facility that sold made-to-order or Subway style sandwiches. In other words, if, for example, you own a house with a kitchen and invite neighbors over to have tacos on Tuesday, and they love the food, and you agree that they'll pay you a little bit each time they get the tacos in the future, well, you can't do that unless you get the government to ordain that a taco is a sandwich, because they already claim the power to stop you and your friends unless what you serve is termed a sandwich by said slave masters. You know, many people concentrate on the superficial debate about this terminology, but that terminology is irrelevant when compared to the fundamental issue of property rights, free will, and government thuggery. Quote, "It kind of became an argument of, is a taco a sandwich or not? So we thought it's easier to agree that it fits within the character and scope of what we had anticipated. So we have an amendment," Quintana's representative said in 2022, according to the court documents. After years of legal proceedings, Judge Craig Bobe of the Allen Superior Court ruled on Monday that Famous Taco was eligible to open and operate its business under the terms of the original written commitment created in 2019. Bobby said that the restaurant was compliant according to the commitment, the court documents said. All that trouble, all that time, all that money from the initial creation of the zoning order and how much money that required to fund all the bureaucrats, to the salary of the judge and the staff, and all of those lost opportunities for Quintana and his customers to engage in peaceful trade. Does the role of government as mobster or liege lord here become clearer as one looks at all of those lost opportunities? Or will flighty people just stare at the taco sandwich debate and remain blind to what is morally and economically important? Economists and moral philosophers for years have decried this relatively new phenomenon in Western governments. Zoning appears to have really only started in Germany circa the late 19th century. And Navabi notes key points to carry away here. Quote, "The economist Ludwig von Mises marked a distinction of ownership under the principle of violence and ownership under the principle of contract. Under the principle of violence, ownership constitutes physical possession only. A person no longer owns a thing if someone stronger takes it from them via violence. It can be best expressed by Tacitus's description of the young men of ancient Germania. They actually think it tame and stupid to acquire by the sweat of toil what they might win by their blood. The principle of violence is a policy of arbitrary chaos over peace. Conditions are different under the principle of contract. Once it is recognized that the stability of ownership is a beneficial institution and ought to be maintained, the principle of contract emerges. Under a policy of contract, voluntary exchanges of property become the norm." And it's important to note that you have no contract with any political entity. By definition, all political institutions are imposed on people. Zoning, as it is commonly understood, is a policy of the state. The state, despite its appeals to consultation, public reason, and the like, is fundamentally an institution that operates under the principle of violence. Its laws and ordinances are always backed by the threat of violence. So, some simple questions. Is it violent to serve a taco to a willing customer? Of course it's not. Is it violent for politicians to tell people that they can only serve customers according to the diktats of said politicians? Well, yes, absolutely it is. And even if one didn't want to discuss the absurd terminology problems that zoning ordinances create, even if one wanted to avoid the baseline immorality of the codes, such proscriptions discourage new ventures and ideas, because the people with those new ideas, which could be very successful and help them and customers and potential employees all together, well, they become hesitant to fight the red tape, preventing them from starting a new endeavor. Politics is a dangerous enticement. The state, in all its forms, presents a world of aggression and force as if it were somehow normal, and it seduces people to get their hands on the controls or even create new controls over other people's lives. the less often this kind of thing, this kind of seductive aggression exists, the better. And this debate about what a taco is, well, it serves as a reminder about what zoning is. It's an attack on private property and free will. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Find us all the time, of course, at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. And while you're there, please consider donating to the Media Research Center. You can always check us out over on Facebook. Leave some comments down inside the Facebook page, and you'll hear back from a lot of people. You can find us on TikTok, on Instagram, and of course, on X. If you were looking for me on Gab, I'm at Gardner Goldsmith on Gab, and on X, I'm at Gard Goldsmith. And please find our videos at Rumble where they don't censor us. And yes, you can still find our videos on YouTube where they do censor us. But we love to send people over to Rumble. And please share the videos far and wide, especially about things like this. Some history, some economics, some ethics. Maybe some teenagers will find this interesting. They can look into Mises's work. Good stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.
I want to invite you as my guest on a very special, once-in-a-lifetime, 7-day post-election cruise in the Caribbean. It's going to be a blast.